Hey, what's up guys? Mike the Manic Geek here, and today I'm going to be discussing the desk that I've been using recently. This is the IKEA Skarsta. Retails for about $269 through the IKEA website, and it is a height adjustable desk, but it adjusts that height with a hand crank as opposed to an electric motor, which does simplify construction and brings the cost down a little bit in comparison to something like an autonomous desk. But was the swap to a hand crank versus an electric motor worth the $30 price reduction over the autonomous? Or is this something that doesn't really make as much sense at this particular price point? To figure that out, we're going to need to discuss the particulars of this desk. So, without further ado, let's get started. So really, the design of this desk is simple to the point that really there's not a whole lot to talk about here. We have a dominantly steel construction for the frame underneath, which does accommodate for width adjustments to use two different widths of tabletops should you desire. You do also have screw-in feet at the bottom, which are made of plastic, and they are height adjustable as well. So you can use those to sort of dial in the stability of the desk at all four corners, just to make sure that it's not going to wobble quite so much while it's raising or lowering. More on that in a little bit. Height adjustment with this desk does range from approximately 27.5 to 47.5 inches in height, and full adjustment from top to bottom or reverse only takes roughly about a minute. And it's relatively easy. Crank actuation is pretty straightforward, and you can actually set up the desk to have the crank on the left or the right hand side depending on your preferences and how you want to lay out your desk setup. Now, as mentioned previously, at maximum travel, this desk does tend to wobble a little bit, and you can see it right here where my monitor is shaking around a little bit more than I would prefer. It's nothing that has me inherently worried, and honestly, if I took a straight edge to the desk, or a level rather, and adjusted all four of the feet on the desk, I would probably eliminate the vast majority of that wobble. Now, as I said, this is a hand crank actuated desk, which means that the overall production cost for this should have been significantly cheaper than producing something that has integrated electric motors into either of the legs or a singular motor that actuates both legs. The nice thing about the handle is that it tucks away nice and cleanly underneath the desk, so it's minimally invasive in terms of where you're sitting and what it is you're going to be doing. And after using this desk for the past month or so, I can say that the handle has really never gotten in the way for me. Now, the tabletop itself is pretty basic. It's basically just compressed particle board with a white coating on the top of it and along the borders here. But that's not my main concern with the tabletop. Particle board is fine here because it keeps the top of the desk particularly light, which does wind up being important. The main issue that I had with the tabletop was the way it was packaged. I ordered my Skarsta through the mail, and when it arrived to me, it basically just had this thin, flimsy layer of cardboard wrapped around it as though it was kind of like cardboard wrapping paper. And there was nothing to protect the corners. So during transit, two of the corners on my tabletop did experience a bit of damage. Now, I'm assuming that this was done during transport. I actually have no way of proving that. So for all I know, this could have been something that occurred just by having this tabletop sitting around at whatever distribution center this was mailed from. What I would like to see moving forward with these tabletops is to see some closed cell phone caps on the corners of them when it ships. It's just going to cost a little bit more in terms of just that slight bit more cardboard that you're going to be using, as well as producing those caps. But ultimately, it's the perception of quality that matters a lot here, and it's the perception of actually caring about what the product looks like when the customer receives it. So, IKEA, if you happen to catch this video, definitely see about protecting the corners of these tabletops when you ship these out, huh? Now, as far as the coating that they used for the tabletop, it's actually extremely resilient, and it comes clean extremely easily. All I've ever had to use to clean the surface of this desk is some window cleaner, a paper towel, and just a little bit of elbow grease, and pretty much everything comes up straight away. That particular bit is awesome if you're someone like me who likes to have a glass or two of beer at their desk, and occasionally you'll have a pour that kind of gets away from you. The only other gripe that I had with the desk was the smoothness of the hand crank that's used here, mostly in terms of when you're pulling it out to use it and when you're retracting it to put it away. The slot that the handle slots through doesn't really give it a whole lot of even movement, and so sometimes the rail that comprises the hand crank, it tends to get caught up on the actual mechanism inside that lifts and lowers the desk. So you have to be a little methodical with the handle, otherwise it's just going to sort of stutter around all over the place. But once you actually fully extend it or fully retract it, it moves just fine. Now here's the main issue that I actually had with the desk functionally, and this is something that you will want to consider if you do buy into a Skarsta. The weight limitations for the desk are only half of what something like the autonomous standard motorized desk is. This desk is rated to hold about 110 pounds worth of weight on its tabletop, while the autonomous desk is rated for 220 pounds at a minimum, all the way up to 300 pounds for the business class model. That may seem like a pretty decent amount of weight to hold, but for some PC enthusiasts out there, once you start getting into hardcore water cooling and you have this full tower loaded with radiators, water blocks, coolant, the weight of your PC winds up becoming pretty substantial. Plus, at that point, once you're working with something like a heavy monitor stand and you have 2, maybe 3 or more monitors set up on your desk, all of a sudden the weight starts to add up. And unfortunately, because of the simplistic design of the hand crank mechanism, at least as near as I can tell, weight limitations are not quite as robust as they are on a slightly more expensive model. Which actually pretty abruptly brings us to the end of this video. I'm all about height adjustable desks. Ever since I started using one, I've noticed that my posture has improved. I've noticed that I actually enjoy using my computer more because I don't feel restricted to just sitting at my desk all the time. I can also stand and I can keep my legs moving. It's just a better overall experience. So I don't actually regret buying into the Skarsta. Even as a forward-thinking design, the Skarsta hit all of the right notes there because the design is so simple and the desk has so much free space on the underside here. It's easy to customize this to truly make it your own desk. There's enough room for things like a cable management bin. There's enough room for additional clips for you to route more cables through it. You can even customize the tabletop and add your own in later if you want to, because even the way the tabletop fixes to the frame is really basic. It just uses 4 sleeved pegs that plug into each of the corners, and you could basically just use this tabletop as a template to create your own with whatever substance you want to later on down the line. But as I said previously, the biggest problem, and unfortunately the biggest shortcoming of this desk, is the weight limitations for the price. At only $30 cheaper than an autonomous model before shipping, is it really worth it to give up the convenience of having a programmable keypad that will allow you to not only adjust the height of your desk, but also store those heights for easy use later on down the line? Ultimately, if I had it to do over again, I would probably have just bit the bullet, spent the extra $30, and gotten the autonomous model instead. However, that's a lesson that I learned so that you guys could learn, so everyone wound up learning in the process. Ultimately, this still isn't a bad desk though, and if you can find it on sale for anything less than $269, it's definitely worth considering. Hey guys, Mike the Editing Geek here, and I just wanted to have a quick interjection to let you know my synopsis of the pricing for this desk was way off, and I didn't realize I was looking at the wider model that's available for this as opposed to my model, which came with the smaller tabletop. So the actual pricing for this desk was $239, and for that kind of price difference, that actually makes a pretty significant impression on whether or not I would recommend this as a go-to desk. And for that, I don't know, I guess it's still up to you guys, but for that kind of price differential between the autonomous models and the IKEA model, yeah, I would say this is a pretty decent buy. So guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button if you like what you saw here. Hit me up in the comments below too. Are any of you using any height adjustable desks, and what's your experience been with them? How do you use your height adjustable desk? Do you use it for something other than a PC setup? Let me know, I'd love to talk about it. Also, be sure to get subscribed if you haven't done so already, and I will catch you guys next time. Take it easy.